thank you all so very much for joining us today. We're really looking forward to presenting this webinar regarding strategic planning. Before we start, I just want to introduce myself to those who may not know me. My name is Jim Pannos. I'm president of the agency and have been so for the last century. Well, actually, since the last century, in about 27 years. So I'm a former banker. We have a number of former bankers on staff, and we are an agency that specializes in financial service providers and have specialties in just about everything that a marketing firm should offer, is from creative branding, full digital, social, and traditional media, outstanding client service, and full website capabilities, all in-house. We are located about an hour north of Boston in Manchester, New Hampshire, and have clients across the country. We are an in-house agency in that we do all of our work in-house for just about all the services we provide. And we have, I believe, 42 employees now. Is that right, Vizma?
If it's not 42, it's darn close to it. I know it's over 40.
Yeah. So I'm going to let my panelists and your panelists introduce themselves.
All right. As Jim had promised earlier, he said ladies first. So I'm going to jump on that opportunity. So I'm Vizma Sanders. I'm the Director of Client Services here. I've not been with Pannos quite as long as Jim has, but I'm going into my 17th year come September. Have always been part of client services, started out working with clients directly, and am now overseeing the client services department, which is currently at 12 of us all together. So we work with organizations across the country, credit unions, banks, large and small, and we all love what we do. So we're excited to talk to you guys today about strategic planning.
And I'm Ryan Weber. I'm an account executive. I've only been here for 6 years, so I'm just a newbie. And I have the great pleasure of working with multiple different financial institutions, from small to big, and some in between, and some that aren't even institutions. But I have a great group of people I love to work with. I love working with everyone here at the agency just because everyone is so excited about what they do. And whether or not it's talking about media to design, video to web, it's really kind of fun hearing and seeing, talking with everyone in all the different aspects that they do with what they do here at the agency, or just in general, actually.
Great. Thanks, Vizma. Thanks, Ryan. So our goal here is to try to answer some questions from things that we've seen through our experiences with our clients through strategic planning, how to get ready for the upcoming year. And one of our goals has always been, and whether you're working with an agency or not, it matters. It doesn't really matter. The key here is that marketing should be part of the discussion when it comes to strategic planning. You're the people who are going to end up driving traffic to the branch, to your website, developing campaigns that are going to be satisfying your various stakeholders at the bank. So it's really important that you be part of it from the very beginning. And that isn't always the case. It wasn't always the case when I was in banking. It did change as I went on a little bit longer in banking. But I think it's critically important. And I'm hoping what we can tell you today can maybe, if you're not in that at the beginning of the process, maybe this will help you position yourself a little bit differently. Because our goal is to make it so marketing can't be ignored, and that people look at marketing as an investment, not something that drags the bottom line, this big lump number, and saying, well, we can always cut marketing. Look at how much is in there. No, you shouldn't, because what you're doing is biting off your nose to spite your face. So I look at this as a true opportunity. So today we're going to be covering a few things. And I'm going to start off asking my panelists a question here about what are some of the tips on how to get marketing more involved in the overall strategic planning? I open it up to whoever wants to go first.
Ryan, you chomping at the bit? Do you want to?
Okay, I'll go. I do have actually a great opportunity. One of the people that I work with, they have a seat at the board meeting, and they talk about marketing a lot. And in fact, like the first week and a half of almost any conversation I have with them is talking about the board presentations, the board meetings, what they're bringing to the table, all the information. We talked about ROI, ROAS. We talked about what the budget is, what that's bringing in for each individual line. So it's pretty cool to have that person there talking with, you know, the board about what they're seeing and about reporting. And it's like, it gets really interested, and we really dive deep into talking about what they're seeing. And I think it helps to drive home to, you know, the high ups what is involved. You know, they're doing these great campaigns and, you know, 800 different pieces, and this is what it's bringing. They're bringing this many new accounts, they're bringing this many new loans, this, you know, loan amount, this many CDs. It helps them to really, I think, grasp the importance of marketing when they kind of see those numbers, and they can see, oh, we spent X and we brought in this much more. That's great. I understand why marketing is important. And I think for me that helps. And I think it helps because I get to hear from that person what they're seeing and they're hearing from their board. And, you know, that gets to be able to trickle down to whatever else we're going to do with them.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Ryan. I think to both yours and Jim's points, if a marketing person is with an institution where marketing is viewed as an investment to that institution and not as an expense, that's already kind of a leg up. And if you're not that fortunate to be with an institution that values marketing as an investment, you've got to make them see that it is valuable. So there's a couple of ways that we've seen that you can kind of get your seat at the table. One is if there's ALCO, try to make yourself part of that. Definitely get in there and learn what it is that's worked in the past. It's, you know, the old adage, you can't see where you're going unless you know where you are. Well, that's definitely the case with marketing, is that in order to really understand sort of where you're going, you need to know what the starting point is. So, you know, look at what has worked for you in the past, what's working now, has the landscape changed, sort of like get all your research together and then bring that to the table.
Yeah, and I think some of the other key pieces here, Viz brought up a great point, and that's trying to get, you know, what are the goals going to be, and how are they communicated to marketing? Is it just passed down from C-suite down to the next level, down to marketing, or hopefully marketing is part of that next level? But how does it really manifest itself? I mean, I had an old boss who told me this quick little story about making sure you give feedback as to what you're looking to do in the future. How are you going to be doing this? What are our goals? What are and oftentimes I've learned through my own experience and through some of our clients' experiences that marketing oftentimes is kind of left in the dark, and they don't know what a successful checking campaign is, or what the goals were for that home equity campaign or that commercial real estate campaign. And how are you going to be able to achieve it if you don't know what the goals are? And you should be part of that whole goal development. And the way it kind of sinks in with me is the story was he said, you know, it's kind of like bowling. And imagine having a bowling ball and bowling, you're knocking pins down and you look and see what's left, and then you go and try to hit those down. He said, what if somebody put a curtain up in front of the pins and you threw the ball down? And then the person behind the curtain said, oh, you got two of them down. Didn't tell you which two. So where do you go from there? Well, if it's two, I guess it's probably almost a whole lane, but you got seven down. Well, what three are left? How do we get there? And the important thing is what we try to do and talk to our clients about is lifting that curtain, removing it so that you know where things are going versus, you know, what pins to knock down, what accounts to go after, how many to do it, and, you know, really doing the best job possible in measuring the capabilities and how you drove that traffic into the bank, you know, onto the website, onto your online account opening, online mortgage apps, or that the mortgage originators you have had a really busy week or 2 weeks because this particular promotion really generated interest. So there's all those things are really important, and having an understanding of what the goals are and being around when they're being determined is very important. And the other piece of that is ensuring as time goes on, you're documenting benchmarks. Try to keep track of what you've done in various products and services that you've been promoting, or even just the bank has done the prior year, and just carry those forward so that you know that in the third quarter of 2019, you opened 60 home equity lines. And let's say you decide to do another campaign in the third quarter of 2022. Now you have a benchmark. Now you know that, all right, the last time we did this, we opened 60. What am I going to need to open this time to offset the expenses that I'm planning to invest in this campaign? And do the analysis. We can help on ROI calculations. We do it for our clients all the time. As a matter of fact, the client Ryan was speaking to, I spent a few hours on the phone and sent over some information to her and went through things it was about a week and a half of time that went past, where we went back and forth and had some conversations about the best way to measure the ROI on certain products at their bank. So that's something to have handy, because if you can prove that all of a sudden you opened 80 accounts during that next promotion, and you opened 60 a few years ago, say pre-pandemic, which was considered successful, now you've just opened 20 more. It may be an average revenue stream of, $5,000 to $7,000 an account over the average life of an equity line. Well, an extra 20, that's some decent money. Now, you're all of a sudden talking $140,000 of return. And if you let's just say you spent $35,000 on the campaign, now you have a 400% ROI. So it manifests itself into, it almost automatically gives marketing credit and credibility.
Mhm.
So.
Mhm.
Exactly. I think when you have those kind of numbers, you open the door as to why you should be part of that conversation. Because you can speak to, we did X, Y, and Z, and you can see the growth, and that makes sense why we want to continue doing this more. I think that's a great way to kind of really get your foot in there.
Great. All right. Next question I have for my esteemed panel. What types of questions should you be asking during a strategic planning season?
Well, I'll take a jump at that high level. Obviously, going back to what we just stated, you want to find out what the financial institution's goals and objectives are for the upcoming year. What do you want to accomplish? And then really start to think about that and assess what products and services need to be promoted in order to meet those goals and objectives. There's all kinds of information that you need to look at too, with respect to starting to really put a plan together. Are there any, when you start to assess this information, is there any other information in terms of what the institution's going to be undergoing over the next year? Is there any branch growth projected, any branch closures? Are there any mergers, acquisitions on the books, things that you really need to be aware of? Because all of this really has a tremendous impact upon starting to create that strategic plan that affects timing on certain things. Obviously, if there's a branch opening going on or a closure, you want to be careful to not do any marketing that might impact that negatively. Likewise for a merger or acquisition.
Exactly. You want to be cognizant of what disruptions are in there. You don't want to go forth and try to do a big branding campaign in amongst trying to push for more accounts, only for yourself to be going through a merger in 3 or 4 months. Or because you don't want the first interaction someone has when they come on board is an abrupt change. And now you're no longer the same institution, or now you're partnered with somebody else, and that could really kind of put a bad taste in your mouth. Not horrible, but you don't necessarily want to do a big push that way.
I think an important thing too is obviously to get the overarching goals and initiatives for the bank or credit union, but also to get that down to the department level and really talk to all the department heads and get their perspectives on things, because they might offer information and insights that that are very, very important for their specific lines of business.
Because they're going to definitely offer their 2 cents and what they're looking for. And you want to have that conversation as a whole so that one person isn't telling you different things than somebody else. So all the business lines can be together and understand this is what we're doing. This is the overarching goal. And this is how each group is going to help us get there.
We have a client, we'll be heading out with the account executive, and Vizma is going to be joining me as well, out to a client in the Midwest. And we've been doing this strategic planning session with them, strategic marketing planning with them now for years. I'm talking maybe 8 years, 7, 8 years. I've been going out there and doing this. And what the marketing director will do is get the stakeholders, get the person in charge of commercial lending, mortgages, trust and investments, retail, all of those people will be all scheduled. And they, in this case, they're starting at 1 p.m. on a particular day. They each get a half hour to 45 minutes to tell us, along with the president and CEO of the bank is there, and we will be there as their agency. And if you're not aligned with an agency or don't want to have your agency involved in this, you should be doing this, okay? It should not go by the boards just because you don't have a firm working with you. You should be doing this. It positions you in a great way. And yes, listen to what they want to do. Find out from their perspectives when they want to run these campaigns, or when they think the best time is to run a commercial real estate campaign. When should we be marketing mortgages or home equities? If your auto loans are big for you, when should that be done? Should it just be done at Washington's birthday? Biz can tell you a little bit about that in a minute, but we can chat about these are the things to try to get together and have that for each one of those stakeholders, each one of those department heads. Most of them that, when, at least in this particular bank we go to, are a part of the C-suite. So they have adopted that marketing director at that organization as a part of them. They look to her to be a strategic partner within the bank's success. And I think that's something that can be done at every bank or credit union that we work with. It's really important. And so by doing that, now you have an idea as to what they want, and they probably are asking for more than you can give. Well, when should we be marketing commercial real estate? Oh, we should always market commercial real estate. And you only have so much budget to give, and you have to really identify when and where are the best times to do so. And I'm going to ask one of my esteemed panelists again. I know we chatted a little bit about this. Viz, you actually brought it up, I think, when I was talking to you earlier.
I did, yeah. We were chatting earlier, and this may not be the case for many of our institutions, but in some cases, marketing is kind of on a rinse and repeat, or a shampoo, rinse and repeat cycle, if you will. It's based upon stereotypes or assumptions or perceptions about seasonality. You sell the most cars in February. People put their deposits in after they get their tax returns back in April. Mortgages are only promoted in the springtime. Well, that's not always the case, and we've learned that
It's never the case, actually.
Pardon?
It's never the case.
It's never the case. That's very true. Through utilizing search trends and information that's available through Google, we're able, or everybody's able, to go back and see historically what people are searching for when, which really informs you in terms of, aha, you know what? Mortgages are most popular in October and November. Isn't that a crazy time? It's something that you would never think of. And essentially what it allows you to do is to align your marketing efforts to sort of time with the market to hit those peaks, and optimize your budget so that you're out there marketing when people are really looking for things. I think we've been surprised Jim, there was one client with the HELOCs in particular. That was a big surprise
Oh,
to
that,
us.
that was the example, that one I gave you earlier about the 60 to 80. That was actually a client that we did have that we suggested after looking at Google search trends over the prior 3 years and notated that in August, September, and October, those were the second, third, and fourth highest months for searches in their market area for that particular product, for the keywords for that product. And I talked to the bank president about it. He said, well, we should do it, but what's it going to cost us? And we went through the whole process, did the ROI calculation that I gave you a quick little snippet of a moment ago, but they would have never gone out with that and missed out on 80 new loans. Perhaps they would have only done 40 because they didn't market it. And to be able to look at that and see that those trends, that information we were able to get, that quantifiable data is so huge. You've got to be data driven. And Google search trends are really a barometer of basically consumer behavior. It really almost mirrors it in lockstep. So those are really great ways of putting yourself in a position with the C-suite that says, hey, let me take a look at this. Let me look at my trends, or if you have an agency, call them and have them get them for you. To me, it's priceless information and that's just one small part of it. If Mel, our director of digital and strategy, media and strategy were here, she'd start telling you all the other things that you can get, or all the other data we can get. But we don't have that much time right now, and if we can maybe do that at another webinar. But overall, the key piece of this is having some proof points that will allow you to tell that person in charge of consumer loans, if I'm not sure how if it's mortgage loans with home equities, whatever, that maybe we should look at a home equity line. After checking our data, it looks like there's far more searches starting in the fall rather than doing it late spring. And Liz was talking about mortgages. We have found some of our clients' highest mortgage months are November, because many people are getting ready to buy a house in the spring. And oftentimes people are marketing so much in March, April, May, because that's when a lot of the market, the real estate market heats up. Most of those people already have their mortgages or their pre-approvals, and now they're just looking to buy a house. So you'll see their names in a closing document, but you won't see your institution's names next to it because somebody else got them earlier in the process. And so that's what all this information is, this data is. So does anybody else, Ryan or Viz, do you have anything else to talk about regarding the some of the questions that should be asked?
No, not on search trends. I wanted to pivot.
Any questions? Any questions?
No,
No, I think that's good.
no, I know.
All right. So I guess just following up briefly, once you find out what your C-suite, those stakeholders what they're looking for next year, then do the data review, and then you make your priority list. Just because they want to be they want to market for 7 months, you may only find 4 months that are really worthwhile to be able to use your budget properly and have enough for the other stakeholders. So it's important that not only do you hear the stakeholders' priorities during those strategic marketing sessions, but go back, do your homework, pull together the key pieces and see how the search trends and past performance align with what those department heads were telling you, and ensure that you're telling that you have that backup to say, I appreciate all that, but I think these are the 4 best months for us to market next year. And I only have a limited budget, and this is, how I'd like to do it. And you put plans together, piece plans together by product that way over a period of time. So, yes, Ryan, is that your dog?
Wow.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The mailman's there.
Yep.
Okay, So common pitfalls of strategic planning. What are they other than the dog barking?
Oh, actually, that was a perfect segue with the dog barking, because back to Jim's point about trying to satisfy everybody, each of these department heads is going to be looking to bust your budget probably. And you probably don't have enough to go around for everybody. And I was going to say something about you can't just give all your marketing bucks to the person who barks the loudest. But that's besides the One of the common pitfalls, I think, of marketing strategic planning is trying to plan too far in advance. It's always great to have your eye on a longer term, but in reality, there's so many things that can happen over a long period of time, like a year, where it just might not make sense. So really, our recommendation is to look at it in smaller chunks. Maybe look at things on a quarter basis and plan it out that way. That way you can look at it 3 months at a time, sort of measure it, go on from there. If the market conditions have remained the same, if the goals have remained the same, we've all seen especially with the changing rate environment recently, that sometimes the goals and initiatives of an institution can change on a dime because the market conditions are changing out there. So that's something to always kind of keep in the back of your head, even though you have a marketing plan set up for maybe 6, 12 months, whatever it is, that you might need to pivot and change pretty quickly and adapt.
Exactly. I had something similar to that in the sense that trying to set up what even the next month was going to be with 7 different campaigns going, and knowing how the market is changing and knowing what is key and what's not key, and being able to have that conversation with your own team of, I know we talked about promoting mortgages this month, but we really should cut back on that. We're not seeing growth. We need to concentrate on the raising right. Like those conversations are tough to have sometimes because, like everyone was saying before, everyone wants their business line to be the top one. They want to use all of your budget. And you have finite. You have to be able to share it and share it equally.
Great. Vince, did you have anything else you want to add on there? Or Ryan, you were talking about something earlier. Maybe it's not necessarily pitfalls, but it's more about surprises that kind of crop up. Or plan. Make sure you plan. Is the C-suite doing planning on some changes next year and they haven't told anybody or what have you, and all of a sudden they drop it on you and you've got to, oh my gosh, what am I going to do and where am I getting special budget for this?
Exactly. That happens a lot more often than it should. But because not everyone's at that same level of when you're having that conversation about a potential new location or any kind of mergers that's going on. That's obviously very high level, and that is going to really change what you plan on doing. You could be planning for 2022 to be all about acquisition, trying to get more accounts, trying to grow your membership, and then you come to find out that we are opening a new account or a new branch at the end of this year. That just changes everything because now you have a giant chunk of your budget that you originally had planned out for doing X, Y, and Z is now going towards a new branch launch. All these campaigns are going on, getting foot traffic in there, getting your making sure everyone knows who you are and doing all that. It's important to find out as much as you can, even though you may not be at that level. So you kind of have to ask the questions that you're not afraid to kind of get the can't really talk to you about this right now response, but just being able to be fluid. That's the hardest part.
Keep asking the questions. Eventually you will be somebody who people can talk to at that point. And Ryan's great. And then, maybe the next question is, can I get a special budget for that?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in my budget from 8 months ago. What can we do to help? What can you do to help? And sometimes you'll find that when they did the plan, they may have planned for marketing. But again, if you're not involved in it, you wouldn't know.
Yeah. Or they may plan for such a small amount that they think works. But when you have that conversation and how big they want to go, you realize that you should have brought in, or at least they should have mentioned something earlier to kind of suss out what would and would not work.
Yes. Yeah. And I think as you're budgeting for those special projects, whether it's an acquisition, a merger, a new branch, or introducing a new product, it's important to take a step back and look at what you really need to make this work. All too often, again, if you're not a marketer, you don't understand what might be needed to help build, launch a branch and open a branch. We had a client not long ago who had just, put over $1 million in a new branch, and their marketing budget was less than $15,000 to launch that $1 million branch. And with their media market, it was going to get them next to nothing. And it just really, that was something that they budgeted and they put in the budget, and that was it. It was solid. So they're going to have to wait until probably next year per this particular organization before they can start marketing it a little bit heavier. It's unfortunate, but these things do happen. And without marketers' input, they're going to happen more often. Do you folks have anything else?
This isn't really a pitfall, but it's a pitfall if you don't do it, in my opinion, and that's correlating results. After you have some sort of campaigns out there, it's so important to really quantify it, correlate whatever you can. I have competition now, don't I? My goodness. Attribution tracking for digital campaigns, ultra important, and it's really information that's available out there. So there's two aspects to that. One is make sure that you're looking at the performance so that you can really show and demonstrate again what people are doing, to whether they're opening accounts online or applying online for something, and ask some of those tougher questions, especially if you do have online account opening or online applications, is, all right, if we're losing people and you've had a digital campaign that looks to be successful based upon visits to a landing page or to an e-blast or something like that, and your department heads are coming back to you saying, we can't associate any business with it. Well, you've got to dig a little bit deeper to find out how you can start to find out what people are doing. There are ways that we can correlate that information through attribution tracking and really see along that entire process where people have gone, what they're clicking on, and where they may be dropping off. Sometimes it's not that easy to uncover it all, but it's so worthwhile to see it.
That's a great point.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead,
No,
Jim.
go ahead, Ryan.
I would say I've had the opportunity to kind of work on both sides of that. I had a great time, worked with a great client that really, that was important to them. And we would have these long conversations of reviewing the reports, of reviewing people, how many people start at point A, how people get down to point D, where's the drop off, and have
that's on an online application, Ryan?
Yep, exactly. And it's key. Digital is key when it comes to that. It helps out so much to really get an idea of what is working and what's not working. And then it's worked with other people that are very much like, we don't care what's going on. You guys are doing your job. You're bringing them to us. That's all we care about. And, we're not really privy to that. Well, how many were opened? What's, like maybe we need to adjust something or tweak something. But I think anytime we get to dive into that detail, that information is always helpful.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Ryan, that particular client you're talking about ended up opening 27 accounts that were directly attributed to the digital campaign that was done, that they were able to track them because of the attribution checking and the relationship we have with them. And they told us that the digital campaign accounted for 27 new accounts in 1 month period of time. So having a relationship with your agency and with your whoever's in charge of your online applications to make sure you can tune them a little bit better, don't have redundant questions, don't make the journey really difficult. That will help you drive more completed applications. The only other thing I want to bring up is I think the days of the 50-pound marketing plans are over. I mean, I remember when one of my first marketing plans was about almost an inch thick. And much to my dismay, by about February of that year, I may as well have used it for kindling in a fireplace, because everybody changed, the economy shifted. And this goes again, way back into the prior century. That just makes me feel so much older than maybe I think I am, but maybe I'm not. But I think now, as Viz was talking about, planning out over 12 months, you might want to break it out. Maybe you have some outlines for the entire year, but if you start getting into detailed planning, all that's going to do is just create more changes and more work for you, I believe. And I think a logical approach is just doing it on bite off small pieces, plan out your next 3 months, work with your agency, pull the numbers together, and ensure that you're staying on budget in those increments. And as opposed to trying to put everything into the wheelbarrow and just bring it out and just dump it. Because here's my plan. 99% of the time, you're going to have an awful lot of changes to deal with. And I guess that's one of the things I wanted to bring up as a pitfall, because I think overall, maintaining flexibility with a marketing plan is critical to me to continue dealing with the absolutely unsettled economic issues that we're facing today. So I think the key word is flexibility in 2023. Make sure that you're able to make moves as quickly as possible, and work with the stakeholders at the bank as well as your agency to ensure they're ready, willing, and able to make those changes for you when it's ready.
Yep.
We had said till 3:30. We've gone over a bit. So are there any questions that anyone might want to put out in chat?
I don't think I see any yet.
Oh. Well, if there are any questions, please reach out to us. We're not salespeople. We're here to inform. We wouldn't have this webinar if we wanted to just sell, we'd be on the phone and all of that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bringing some industry knowledge that we were able to glean over the last however many years with so many fabulous clients that we've had. So we're available should you want to ask us any questions. Shoot us an email. I think our contact information is out there. If it's not, my email is jpannos@panosmarketing.com. Panos is spelled with 2 N's. And so, well, you're very welcome. Somebody just said thank you. This has been a helpful panel. Well, congratulations, Viz and Ryan. Great job. And I want to thank you all for attending today. And we look forward to seeing you along the way at maybe some conferences coming up very soon. Take care and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.